Namaskar, Main Ravish Kumar. Welcome. Picture a quiet village at sunset, the sky painted with hues of orange and purple, a scene of tranquility that seems untouched by the world's troubles. Children laughing, their carefree joy echoing through the narrow streets, a sound that should signify safety and innocence. A farmer heading home, his day's work done, anticipating a warm meal and the embrace of his family. All seems peaceful, a postcard of rural life. But beneath the soil, hidden from view, an invisible enemy waits, a silent menace lurking just inches below the surface. The cluster bomb, or Gucha bomb, a weapon designed to scatter destruction indiscriminately. It doesn't wear a uniform or make a sound. It blends seamlessly with the earth, a wolf in sheep's clothing. It waits patiently, a deadly trap set for a child's hand reaching for a lost toy, or a farmer's plow turning the soil to plant seeds of hope. This is not just a story about a weapon, a piece of metal and explosives. It's about the shadow war casts on ordinary lives, the long-term devastation inflicted on communities striving for peace. Long after the fighting ends, when the world has moved on, these silent killers remain, a constant threat. Iran's role in this story is under scrutiny. Allegations swirl around their involvement in the production and distribution of these deadly devices. Are they making and supplying these weapons, fueling conflicts and prolonging the suffering of innocent civilians? Official answers are murky, shrouded in diplomatic language and political maneuvering. But evidence and expert analysis point to a troubling reality, a web of connections that cannot be easily dismissed. The threat is real and devastating, leaving a trail of destruction and despair in its wake. Poisoning land meant to sustain life, turning fertile fields into barren wastelands. Farmers fear their own fields, the very source of their livelihood, now a potential death trap. Children can't play safely, their laughter replaced by fear, their playgrounds transformed into minefields. Families can't rebuild, their homes and lives shattered, their dreams buried beneath the rubble. This is a silent crisis, rarely in headlines, a forgotten tragedy unfolding in the shadows. But a daily terror for many, a constant reminder of the ever-present danger lurking beneath their feet. While leaders debate, entangled in political complexities and geopolitical strategies, mothers pray their children don't find these deadly toys, these instruments of death disguised as harmless objects. Our focus today, the human cost, the stories behind the statistics, the faces of those whose lives have been irrevocably altered. We'll peel back the layers, unraveling the truth behind this hidden war, exposing the devastating impact of cluster bombs on innocent communities. What are cluster bombs? These insidious weapons that scatter bomblets across vast areas. Why are they so dangerous, so indiscriminate in their destruction, so persistent in their threat? And what is Iran's alleged role? What is the extent of their involvement in the production, supply, and deployment of these weapons? We'll hear from those whose lives have been changed forever, the survivors who bear the physical and emotional scars of this hidden war. This isn't just a Middle East issue. It's a global concern, a humanitarian crisis that demands our attention. It's a test of our collective conscience, a challenge to our shared humanity. Let's begin this important conversation. Let's shed light on this hidden crisis, and let's demand action to protect innocent lives. The unseen enemy is real, and its impact is devastating. And its victims are not just statistics. They are mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters whose lives have been forever changed by this silent killer. So let's listen, learn, and not look away. Let's stand in solidarity with the victims and demand an end to the use of these horrific weapons. What exactly is a cluster bomb? It's a weapon designed to inflict widespread damage, but its impact extends far beyond the battlefield. Imagine a large bomb released from an aircraft that opens mid-air like a deadly flower blooming in the sky. Instead of a single explosion, it scatters hundreds of smaller bomblets, also known as submunitions, over a vast area, blanketing the landscape with potential death. Designed to hit wide targets, like enemy troop formations or vehicle convoys, these bomblets often fail to explode on impact. A shockingly high percentage, up to 30 to 40%, remain unexploded and armed. In effect, they transform into hidden landmines, scattered indiscriminately across the terrain. They bury themselves in fields, disrupting agriculture and livelihoods, rubble, concealing themselves amongst the debris of war, trees, blending seamlessly into the natural environment, or rivers, contaminating water sources and posing a threat to anyone who approaches. Silently waiting, they are a constant danger, waiting for an unsuspecting touch to trigger their deadly potential. Civilians, especially children, are at disproportionate risk. These bomblets can often look like toys, colorful cans, or other harmless objects that might pique a child's curiosity. A child's natural curiosity, their innocent desire to explore, or a farmer's daily work, tilling the soil to provide for their family, can turn deadly in an instant, transforming a normal day into a tragedy. The war may be over, the fighting may have ceased, but the danger lingers for years, even decades, a constant threat to those who remain. Cluster bombs are inherently indiscriminate weapons. They can't distinguish between soldiers and civilians, combatants and non-combatants, tanks and tractors, military vehicles and essential agricultural machinery. When used near homes, in populated areas, schools, places of learning and growth, or markets, bustling centers of commerce and community, the consequences are catastrophic, leading to widespread death, injury, and long-term suffering. Over 100 countries have banned them through international treaties and agreements, recognizing the profound humanitarian disaster they cause, the unacceptable harm they inflict on civilian populations. Yet, despite the global condemnation, they're still used in conflicts around the world, leaving a legacy of fear and loss, a trail of shattered lives and devastated communities. The weapon never sleeps. It waits, silently and patiently, for its next victim. The real cost is paid by those who never chose this war, the innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. The world's response has been clear, with many nations uniting to ban these weapons, but not universal, leaving gaps in protection. The danger remains hidden in plain sight, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences of war. Now let's focus on Iran, a major military power with a robust arms industry. Does Iran possess and produce cluster munitions? Evidence suggests yes, though official details are secret. Iran developed these capabilities during the Iran-Iraq War and has since produced its own versions, including warheads for rockets. Technology transfers from countries like North Korea and China have likely played a role. Tracking the origin of these weapons is difficult, allowing for deniability. Experts agree, Iran has both the means and the history. The real concern is where these weapons end up, often in the hands of Iran's allies in conflict zones. This places Iran at the center of a humanitarian crisis. To see the impact, look at Syria and Yemen, countries ravaged by war, with Iran supporting key players. Cluster munitions have been widely documented in both, leaving fields and streets littered with deadly remnants. In Syria, government forces have used these weapons in populated areas, causing immediate and lingering casualties. In Yemen, both the Saudi-led coalition and Houthi forces, supported by Iran, have used cluster bombs. Some of these weapons have been traced to Iranian origins. The victims are ordinary people, farmers, families, children. Imagine Ahmed, a Yemeni farmer, killed by a hidden bomblet while trying to rebuild his life. He wasn't a soldier, just a father trying to feed his family. His story is repeated across Syria and Yemen. The war's legacy is not just destruction, but a daily deadly threat. These weapons don't discriminate. Their victims are chosen by chance. The pain endures long after the fighting stops. This is the reality on the ground. The world responded with the Convention on Cluster Munitions, banning use, production, and transfer. Over 120 countries joined, pledging to destroy stockpiles and help victims. But major powers, including the US, Russia, China, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, refused. Iran argues the treaty is flawed without universal participation, claiming a ban would put them at a disadvantage. Officially, Iran says it would only use such weapons defensively. For victims, these debates are meaningless. The danger is real, regardless of legal arguments. The gap between law and reality leaves civilians unprotected. To truly grasp the devastating human cost of these weapons, we must listen to the stories of those who have survived. Their experiences offer a stark and unfiltered view of the reality on the ground. Let's meet Amina, a 10-year-old Syrian girl. Her story, while unique to her, unfortunately reflects the experiences of countless children caught in the crossfire of conflict. Amina's story is a composite of many real stories, a tapestry woven from the threads of loss, resilience, and the enduring hope for a better future. Before the war violently intruded upon her life was simple, filled with the joys and innocence that every child deserves. It was a life of school, play, and the unwavering love and support of her family. These were the cornerstones of her world. But then, the brutal reality of war forced her family to flee their home, seeking safety amidst the chaos and destruction. When they eventually returned, a fragile hope mingled with the ever-present danger that lingered in the ruins of their former lives. One seemingly ordinary afternoon, while playing in a field near her home, Amina stumbled upon something shiny and intriguing in the grass. It was a bomblet, a deadly piece of unexploded ordnance, cruelly disguised as a harmless toy to lure unsuspecting victims. Drawn in by its deceptive appearance, she innocently picked it up, unaware of the catastrophic consequences that would follow. The explosion was instant, a deafening blast that ripped through the air and shattered everything around it. Miraculously, Amina survived the horrific ordeal. But she lost her right hand in the blast and suffered other severe life-altering injuries that would require extensive medical treatment. Tragically, her younger brother, who was playing nearby, was killed in the explosion. In that single devastating moment, her childhood abruptly ended, replaced by a harsh reality of pain and loss. Now she faces a lifetime of ongoing medical care, the social stigma associated with her injuries, and the constant struggle to adapt to a world that is no longer the same. Sadly, Amina's story is not unique. It's a heartbreakingly common narrative in conflict zones around the world. Thousands upon thousands share her fate, their lives forever scarred by the indiscriminate nature of these weapons. Cluster munitions don't just kill and maim, they steal futures, robbing children of their innocence and potential. For every unexploded bomblet that remains hidden in fields and playgrounds, there's a potential Amina waiting to become another victim. We must ask ourselves, is any military objective truly worth this devastating price? The irreversible harm inflicted upon innocent civilians? The scars left by these weapons are both physical and invisible, etched not only on the body, but also deep within the mind. These are lasting a lifetime, a constant reminder of the violence and trauma they have endured. These are not just numbers in a report or statistics on a page. They are individual lives, forever changed, their destinies irrevocably altered by the horrors of war. The tragedy is preventable, the suffering is avoidable. Amina's story demands we ask ourselves some difficult questions and compels us to take action. What kind of world do we want to create for future generations? The answer, and the power to change, is in our hands. We must choose a path towards a safer, more just, and more compassionate world for all. Why do militaries still use cluster bombs? The answer: cold military logic. Cluster munitions cover large areas, making them efficient for area denial or attacking dispersed targets. They're seen as cost-effective, delivering massive firepower quickly. For countries like Iran, facing stronger adversaries, these weapons are an equalizer. The long-term civilian cost is often dismissed as collateral damage. The decision is stripped of human context, just numbers on a map. As long as this logic prevails, cluster bombs remain in arsenals. The victims are invisible in military calculations. The argument for cluster munitions grows weaker as technology advances. Modern smart weapons can target precisely, reducing civilian harm. Drones and guided missiles now offer alternatives that don't leave deadly remnants. These options are more humane and often more effective. Many countries have shifted to these alternatives, recognizing the need to win peace, not just war. Continued use of cluster bombs is a choice, not a necessity. The world must promote safer, smarter options. The future of warfare should not be built on indiscriminate suffering. We've seen how cluster bombs turn fields into minefields and toys into tragedy. Iran's role is complex, but the human cost is clear. The silence around this issue is deadly. When we stop talking, the danger persists. Breaking the silence is the first step to change. Leaders must be reminded of the consequences of their choices. Accountability means more than blame. It means action. This is not someone else's problem. It's a stain on our shared humanity. Awareness leads to pressure, and pressure leads to change. Support those clearing land and helping survivors. Remember the farmer, the mother, the child. Let their stories drive us. The journey to a world free of cluster munitions is long, but necessary. We must keep asking hard questions and demanding better. The silence must end. Namaskar.